In junior year, the school's beauty, trying to annoy her crush, the school's male heartthrob, handed me a love letter. I thought those feelings were real, so I rushed toward her without a second thought, spent all my effort helping her with her studies, hoping we would get into the same school. But years later at a reunion, drunk and teary-eyed, she angrily told the heartthrob, "Because you were fighting with me back then. You said to give it to him, so I did." Later, when a fire broke out at the mall we were in, she didn't even glance my way, pulling him to safety. Back to that time, seeing that love letter again, and facing the teasing of my classmates, I casually handed it to the heartthrob sitting next to me and said, "Isn't this yours? Why use me as a joke?" The late afternoon after rain felt stifling and hot. Outside, the sky was filled with swirling orange clouds. The evening study session hadn't started yet. Noisy chatter filled the hallway outside the classroom. I sat at my desk, appearing to quietly read a book, but in reality my palms were clenched tight. It all seemed like a ridiculous dream, yet the suffocating sensation in the burning building still lingered in my memory. Just like last time, Carrie's best friend stood at the door, arm in arm, loudly asking, "Who's Harry in your class?" Someone asked me to give him something. In her hand was a love letter, a bunch of baby's breath, and a cup of milk tea. These tokens were simple and sincere. If they hadn't dragged me into their drama, I would have wished them well. Harry, my desk buddy, was scribbling furiously over math problems. He was good-looking. Even when he was angry, he looked cool and cute. No wonder so many classmates on the school forum said he was the male heartthrob. The teasing in the class grew louder. Just like before, he turned to me, annoyed, and said, "Felix, they're calling you, answer them." Meeting his mocking gaze, this time, I wasn't shy or embarrassed, just filled with anger. They were almost together back then, but dragged me into their game of jealousy. I naively thought that confession was genuine, but from the start, I was just a clown for their amusement. If the drama had ended that night, I wouldn't have despised them so much. What happened next was, to make him jealous, Carrie got with me. Ever since she confessed, she would come to my desk every day. On a power outage afternoon, she would fan me with a hand fan. I glared at her, but she would look back at me, unfazed, and say, "Felix, do I not even have the right to fan you? The wind just wants to go your way." Sometimes, when I forgot to eat dinner, she would bring it to the classroom without asking. Back then, I was easily embarrassed. I would only say, "I won't agree to date you." "Felix, you agreeing to date me and me wanting you to eat on time are two different things. If you don't eat, I'll just sit here." She, who was never attentive in class, even started asking me questions about our homework. Her eyes seemed so genuine. She would say, "Felix, even though we have a big gap now, I will work hard to get into the same school as you. You will eventually agree to date me." I don't know why, but at that age I was easily swayed, and even more easily fooled. I truly believed someone liked me enough to change for me, to be with her. I spent more than a year focused on helping her improve her grades. My innocence and panic at that time, the occasional touches of emotion, she knew them all. But she watched me fall, and used me to provoke another guy's possessiveness over her. She used me to show he cared for her, he liked her. She used me to prove she liked him so much, she'd use a clown like me to intentionally upset herself. Their emotional tug-of-war was carried out over someone real like me. Remembering this, I looked at Harry and sneered, "I've never had any other nicknames. My name is Felix." Some of Harry's friends would give each other nicknames. Teenage boys often used similar-sounding words to come up with no names. Back then, there were too many people teasing, and both of them were pretending ignorance. So I didn't react at first. I didn't raise my voice, but loud enough for those around us to hear. Gradually, everyone shifted focus onto him. "Harry, go get your love letter. How could you use your deskmate as a shield?" Someone directly chided him. He got flustered, threw down the workbook, and shouted, even more insensitively, "Anyway, it's not me. Who would like someone like her? Just then, Carrie walked into the classroom and heard it. Her face looked even worse than last time. She picked up the letter and walked towards me, saying, "Felix, would you like to be with me?" The cheering in the class got even louder. This time, things started to diverge from last time. Before, her friend just threw it on my desk. And days passed without Harry speaking to her. She genuinely pursued me to make him jealous. So the situation wasn't awkward. In fact, except for Carrie's best friend and the involved parties, no one else knew the letter was originally Harry's. And the letter didn't start with a name, just 2 star-drawn smiley faces. I thought it was her way of bringing us closer, but never realized from the beginning I wasn't the one she meant it for. "No," I said calmly, looking at her bright eyes. "It's okay. I'll pursue you until you say yes." She seemed unperturbed, acting as if she truly liked me, determined. Meanwhile, Harry was already gritting his teeth. Just then, the homeroom teacher, Wendy, walked in. She looked at the noisy classroom, noticed the baby's breath on the desk, and tapped on the teacher's desk saying, "What's going on here?" The classroom went dead silent in an instant. Normally, the homeroom teacher wouldn't show up for another half hour. But why was she here early this time? I brought her in. This afternoon, I deliberately asked her help with a tough math problem while she was busy. She agreed to come early during study hall to explain it to me. I timed it perfectly to make sure she stumbled upon this drama. I wanted to blow things up. I aimed to embarrass both of them. In a past life, Carrie and I got together after the college entrance exams. But during senior year, we were reported for dating. The complaint landed in the principal's office. As an example, we were dragged to the podium on Monday to read an apology. I lost all my dignity that day, and it wasn't just the public embarrassment. My mom found out about it and slapped me hard, calling me shameless. She had warned me all throughout freshman year not to date. She said education was our only ticket given our situation. I didn't know how to respond to her. The outcome was that for the rest of senior year, I was stuck in a battle between my family and school issues. I didn't perform well on the college entrance exams. But Carrie, after receiving my one-on-one tutoring for over a year, exceeded expectations. We actually ended up at the same college. When I got the acceptance letter, the homeroom teacher just asked me, disappointedly, was it worth it? I still remember Carrie giving me one sorry when she saw the slap mark on my face. But was that slap the only thing she should be sorry for? After the exams, throughout our university years together, she had countless chances to clear things up with me. Wasn't my youth valid? Didn't I deserve someone who genuinely cared for me? I was obsessed over who had reported us. Even other classmates became worried, knowing it could happen to anyone. After all, it wasn't an all-boys school. People considered stealing the complaint letter from the principal's office to compare handwriting. Carrie stopped them, saying, "Let it go. Focus on exams." During that time, she sought me out more, unusually cheerful. I thought she just had a positive mindset. Later, when I picked up my acceptance letter, I passed by the principal's office. Some students were cleaning inside, and on a whim, I decided to help. In the corner, I found that complaint letter. I recognized the writing at once. It was just like Harry's. I was confused, thinking we were on good terms. Why would he do that? Reporting me and putting me through all that. What did he gain? I pulled the letter out of the trash and showed it to Carrie. She merely comforted me, saying Harry might have had an issue with me back then, but there was no point in revisiting old matters. I stayed silent. She squeezed my hand, teasing, "Who knew Felix could be so petty?" Petty. After that, my mom brought it up almost daily. I was constantly living under pressure and scrutiny. But to her, it was just a trivial matter. Yet people always deceive themselves. I tricked myself into believing her explanation was genuine. Thinking back, was she remembering our public shame on the podium? Or worried everyone would find out Harry was the rat, causing him trouble? That's just like when she was uncharacteristically generous with treats. Not to comfort me, but because her goal was achieved. Her object of admiration finally noticed her. And I was too naive to see it then. I thought, how could someone treat their own and others' feelings as a joke? But looking back, there were plenty of red flags. After the report, Carrie often bought milk tea, including for my dear deskmate Harry, who usually tossed it straight into the trash. I thought he just didn't like Carrie and didn't read more into it. Later, during seat arrangements, I told him privately I wanted to sit with someone else. I assumed we wouldn't be seatmates again. Yet, there we were together as if nothing had happened. Ironically, I joked with friends, guess my buddy hates Carrie, not me, and shared it with Carrie, telling her not to bully others. Thinking back, she probably loved hearing that. It was another sign of how much her crush cared. The more I thought, the more disgusted I felt. What did I do to deserve two crazy people in my first love experience? Fine. If it's all about games, let's see who wins this time. The homeroom teacher asked whose was the bouquet of baby's breath on the desk. Harry, eyes red, pointed at me and whispered, "It's for Felix." Unable to take it any longer, I raised my voice. "Had enough of your act yet? You know exactly who it's for, right?" My words set Carrie off. She glared at me, her facade slipping. All right then, let's see if she has the guts to approach me after this mess. To save face for the three of us, the homeroom teacher took us to the office. She looked at Carrie in her chair, saying, "All right, spill it. What's going on?" Harry cried even harder. His family was strict, and he was terrified they'd find out about the dating. But he knew my family was the same way, yet he wrote up that report. He watched as I got singled out in front of the entire school. He saw my mom rush in distress. Standing there, Harry lowered his head, tears dripping onto the floor as he nervously picked at his nails. I just stood by coldly, feeling like an outsider watching a play. Somehow, my indifference only fueled Carrie's anger. She was always confident, gifted with a charming face, easily capturing any guy's attention. She shot me a defiant glance and said, "Yeah, I like Felix. It has nothing to do with him." Hearing this, Harry finally sighed in relief. Okay, is it possible that two people can be this nauseating? They're not actually touched by their own love, right? To protect you, I dragged someone random to take the blame with me. Now you see how much I like you. Huh? I laughed out loud, and Carrie glared at me again. I rolled my eyes at her and said, "You're not actually moved by yourself, are you? Honestly, who likes who isn't my business. But own up to it, all right? Do you dare swear that letter was even for me? Did you even spell my name right? You literary genius?" "Felix, no need for personal attacks," the teacher almost chuckled but held it back. How could I listen to her? I've been through too much in life to be stuck dealing with these two. I'd rather resolve this myself. I put on an act of anger and even shed a few tears for show, saying, "Who's making personal attacks? Teacher, I'm just here trying to study, minding my own business. Why am I getting dragged into this? Can't stand up for yourselves? And now I'm in trouble because of a love letter scandal? No way was that freely given. There are cameras everywhere on campus. You could easily see who's close to whom. I won't just let anyone blame me for something. My parents are strict. I can get my mom over here to check the camera footage with the school. I haven't interacted with this student at all lately. Bringing up calling parents made Harry nervous. Teacher, it was for me. But I really haven't been dating. I'm just scared." It was so funny. Carrie was dumbstruck. Her whole heroic charade of taking the fall for me collapsed. Taking the blame herself just made her look worse. Carrie stood there in shock, glancing at Harry, then clenching her fist and said coldly, "Teacher, yes, it's me bothering Harry on my own. Please don't blame him." Watching her act, I couldn't help but roll my eyes again. What's with the looks? She turned to glare at me. "Teacher, she's being mean." I looked at the teacher pitifully, but Carrie's glare grew fiercer. I didn't care and continued, "So Carrie, to protect her crush on Harry, was trying to pin it on me?" Carrie stayed silent, but her eyes were fierce. "Teacher, we're just here to study. And what if I hadn't defended myself today?" I glanced at Wendy, my eyes red with indignation. Wendy patted my shoulder and then said to Carrie and Harry, "Whatever's going on between you, at least don't drag innocent classmates into it. You owe Felix an apology." Reborn, I finally got an unwilling apology from them. The rest wasn't my concern as I left the office and returned to class. The next day, their parents were called in. We didn't know the specifics of how it got resolved. But Harry was no longer my desk mate. His eyes were swollen and puffy, probably from crying too much. The funniest part was when the homeroom teacher indirectly addressed the incident during a class meeting. At this age, it's normal to have feelings. But guys, listen up, when you graduate and look for a girlfriend, making sure they have good character is key. Think about it, if they're getting others involved to shoulder the blame, how good can they be to you, really? Same goes for the girls. If the guy you like easily accuses someone else, is he really worth it? Though the homeroom teacher was a math teacher, her way with words was impressive. After her indirect speech, Harry looked like he was about to cry again. Carrie glared at me countless times, but my eyes were practically rolling to the back of my head at this point. Without me mentioning it, the whole class knew what happened, and during breaks, Carrie and Harry became targets of jokes. Carrie, if you're not screenwriting for the next drama, I won't watch it. You're not moved to tears by yourself, are you? Why someone crying? Didn't you throw someone else under the bus for your romance? Does your love feel so dirty? Not just tears. They even pawned their girlfriend off to their desk mate. Harry couldn't listen anymore and ran out. Carrie walked over to my desk, dumped my workbook and said, "Enough is enough." She leaned down, hands on the desk, glaring right at me. I slapped her across the face, and before she could react, stabbed my pen into her hand. "You afraid to pick on someone else?" I stared coldly into her eyes and shot back. "I owe you too." "Huh? Fine, just wait," she said and left. Some kind classmates feared Carrie might harm me and volunteered to walk me home. I was a day student. My mom rented a place near school to help care for me. With evening classes ending at 9:30, everyone was worried since Carrie had left those words. I wasn't fazed. Instead, I chuckled. It's just school. Carrie wouldn't go that far. And honestly, I'd love to see what her limits are. Not long after, Carrie's friend slyly approached me, "Apologize to Harry, and this will end. Otherwise, deal with the consequences." Taunting them, I replied, "What consequences? I'm eager to know." Coming back again, all the outraged feelings bubble up over how much time and emotion I'd wasted on them. Finally, it was a Friday evening. I was walking home as usual, when Carrie and her crew blocked my path at the alley entrance. Harry stood by her, gripping her shoulder. "Let it go, Carrie. I don't want you to get hurt because of me anymore," Carrie said, gently patting his hand. "It's okay," she reassured me confidently. She stepped closer, trapping me in the corner. "Felix," she said, "why's a young guy like you gotta play so many mind games?" I said, "We're all classmates here. Just apologize to Harry and we're cool." I stared at her thuggish demeanor and thought back over the years we'd been together. All I felt was disgust. I guess I'd been seeing her through rose-colored glasses for so long. In reality, she was always this self-absorbed. I mouthed, "Idiot," at her, and under the night sky, she was predictably furious. "You," she snapped. Her hand went up, ready to slap me. I shut my eyes, bracing for it, kinda hoping she'd actually do it. But she didn't. She hesitated, and for a moment, she almost seemed hurt. By then, sirens were already blaring, and all her friends took off running. A few were caught on the spot, though. Carrie looked at the cops, then back at me and said, "You planned this." I didn't respond to her. Instead, I yelled, "Officer, help me," since she didn't end up hitting me and kept babbling about being in love with me. Plus the fact that area didn't have any cameras. She didn't face much heat. Still, she and her friends got busted for hassling me and ended up getting schooled at the station for a few days. When the school heard about it, Carrie was put on probation. Back at school, I figured she'd try something again. I was itching to get her in more trouble. But she chickened out, calling me a schemer and saying she better stay out of my way. Claimed I set her up on purpose. Around that time, palace drama shows were a hit, and her crew spread some story about me plotting to take her down. They said someone like me would be the last one standing in one of those dramas. I shot back, "Yeah, right. She's so darn innocent she corners a guy at night almost ready to swing. and then blames him for calling the cops. What? Because she's a nutcase, we gotta just let her be? Sounds pretty scary to me. Soon, their gossip died down. Talk about boring. I was ready for round 2. But coming back to life a second time, I wasn't gonna just get caught up in this crap. Every year, my mom saved my New Year's money in an account under my name, and I had the card. It stacked up nicely over the years, like $3,000. I set the password myself. I got pretty savvy at playing the stock market in my past life. With a little foresight, I managed to multiply it several times by the end of just a semester. I took the money out and didn't hide it from my mom. Dad passed early, and it was tough for her handling everything alone. I told her I started with simulations, noticed I got it right often, and took a gamble. Cooked up all sorts of reasons until she was okay with it. With this cash, life for Mom and me eased up a lot. Came that World Cup and stocks surged. I gambled big time, and in just a month, I made a fortune I couldn't have dreamt of before. Suddenly, I realized this was the true meaning of starting over. Getting as much cash as possible. And why did I remember most of the scores so well? Gotta thank Carrie's relentless nagging in the last go-round for that. In my previous life, I ranked top 3 in class but only top 20 overall. With enough money, I signed up for one-on-one tutoring. By the time prep for senior year came, I was in the top 5 overall. Our school enforced strict rules against teenage romance, partly because our region wasn't well off. It's a bit remote. Most of us came from modest backgrounds, and studying was the best shot we had at a better future. I didn't have any hard feelings toward my classmates. Instead, I'd received a lot of help from them. So, I used some of the money to aid underprivileged students in my class. Also, hired a teacher to run free tutoring sessions. When people asked why I was so generous all of a sudden, I said Mom won a lottery, 800 grand, and after buying a house, had some left. Mom felt blessings should be shared. Not revealing too much since it's smart to lay low, but I was happy to help folks around me when I could. Harry and Carrie, protecting their pride, didn't join the tutoring sessions. Honestly, it was mostly because of their own drama. Even without my involvement, they couldn't make things work. They always seemed to need others to validate their relationship. While we were cramming for college entrance exams, they kept worrying about if the other truly liked them. To make Carrie jealous, Harry got together with the school beauty, and things spiraled when Carrie, fired up by jealousy, got into a fight and ended up injured, in a coma. No surprise there. Most days you'd find Harry sighing in class, a girl trying to console him, and him saying, it wasn't on purpose. I thought she didn't like me anymore. I didn't realize she'd go that far. We're just not meant to be. The more they talked, the more it sounded like they'd never make it past finals. Maybe I was getting a bit messed up in the head too, but I thought it made our intense study period feel less dreadful since the exams were freaking tough. Probably only they didn't feel it. Unexpectedly, Carrie came back to school after her release and fixated on me instead of playing drama queen with Harry. Her stalker game was strong during class, always staring at me until I was super uncomfortable. As soon as the bell rang, she'd slowly make her way over. My buddies and I were all geared up, me gripping a fruit knife, wondering if it qualified as self-defense. But then she suddenly asked out of the blue, Felix, when are you going to start tutoring me? We've already lost so much time. Who'd tutor you? I had a hunch she'd remembered bits of her past life after that hit on the head. But that's her business, not mine. The more I thought it over, the dumber it seemed. With how things stood between us, did she really think I'd help her study? I gave her a cold look and said, who are you? She stood there, looking seriously bummed out. Felix, you've changed. Do you need me to call a doctor for you? Felix, I knew you'd still care about me. Really, I'm fine now. Ever since I left the hospital, she's gotten even more annoying. Mental illness needs medication and a doctor. Has no one ever told you? I continued to mock her. She paused for a moment, then just looked at me with hurt in her eyes, apologizing. Sorry for bothering you. Ha, melodrama. If she doesn't want to find her chosen one with love letters, she comes to bother me instead. It's really low quality. Are the standards for actors this low now? I thought I wouldn't have to see those two again soon. After all, there's only 2 months and 10 days left until finals. But I had no idea. Those 2 months and 10 days would be so unbearable. Felt like time was crawling. I was on pins and needles, with a lump in my throat. Carrie was like a broken record, doing self-indulgent things every day. As soon as she arrives in the classroom, there's breakfast on the desk that she bought. She stands there, carefully watching me. I remember you like these. If you don't, I'll get something else. Carrie, did you take the wrong meds? Please stop playing these boring games with me. Otherwise, I'm sending you to either a psych ward or jail. I threatened her. Felix, you've become so heartless. Her eyes were a bit red. Really hope she can save up and finally cure that eye problem. But she didn't take my threat seriously. She brought lunch again. Carrie, why not become a delivery person? If you love delivering food this much, wouldn't that be a better fit than bothering only me? Felix, I just want you to eat well. Crazy. I can't stand it anymore. Seeing me silent, she continued, Felix, I have the right to choose who to be nice to. Nutcase. I gave up trying to reason with her. I called our homeroom teacher, Wendy. Sorry, dear teacher, for bothering you. I guess I'll repay you with some stock tips after graduating. I insisted Carrie was harassing me. The teacher tried talking to her a few times, but she kept doing whatever she wanted. In the end, the school had no choice, so they let her study from home. Anyway, with only a month or 2 left, it's mostly review and exams. Plus, her probation status at school wasn't cleared up. Before leaving, she came to see me. Seemed so pitiful. Felix, do you really hate me that much? I knew what she was talking about, but I pretended I didn't. What on earth are you talking about? If you keep this up, I'll have to call the police. Felix, you really don't remember? Felix, last time you wanted me locked up, didn't you? How could you suddenly be so ruthless? Aren't you disgusted? Who let you call me that? Was it me who asked you to have people block my way at night? Aside from acting stupid every day, can you think of nothing else? Oh wait, you do get more annoying by the day. I attacked her ruthlessly, though I didn't get why she'd bring up past life stuff. Why run to me and not Harry? Anyway, a chance to stab her with words. I won't miss it. No, that's not what I meant. She tried to explain anxiously, but didn't know where to start. Don't bother me anymore. You really annoy people. With this, I turned and went back to class. Carrie didn't stick around either. Left the school looking dejected. Didn't expect Harry to come find me. Is this your scheme? Then you've won. She likes you now. Do they think I'm easy prey? Don't they realize not showing rage doesn't make me a fool? Is this your intelligence level? In making me learn about idiocy, you win. Why don't you go to drama school? Why practice with me every day? Is delusional disorder contagious? Are you too incurable? How have I won? Won what? Aside from romance, does your brain hold anything else? I wasn't done yet. He sulked away again. I'll have the both of you committed one day. The tough times finally ended. Finals finally came. I was as nervous yet excited as the other students. Even though I've been through this once before, last time I was kind of a loser. This time, I'm determined to get back what's mine. Things were going great. Then Carrie came for me again, playing the self-sacrificing card. Felix, I wish you success in all your endeavors. She gave up on the finals, waited all morning just to say that one line. Yet I felt no warmth. A bright future is expected of me. Have you found a school for a retake? If not, shoot for a performing arts prep class. After all, it's your shared interest. As a classmate, I wish you success. Play as much as you want in your own dramas. Just don't drag innocence into it. Okay? Felix, do we have to be like this? Are we that close? No, not close. Nope. After murmuring to herself, she turned and left. I grabbed my pencil case and ID, heading to the exam room. This life, I'll live excitingly and fearlessly. After finals, our class had a last gathering. Carrie was there too. While my classmates and I celebrated with drinks, she just sat there watching me. Same old story. Didn't bother with her. But something good did come. I made some money this lifetime, so those who dropped out finished high school, and I told them someone kind-hearted would support their college. A former classmate of my mom's, now a boss. All lies, of course. This philanthropist, just me, can help people, but not at my own expense. After eating, we went to karaoke. Honestly, I can be stingy. Carrie insisted on coming, so not my fault. When it was my turn, I purposely sang the Korean song Carrie taught. Carrie practiced it a ton. She wanted to confess to Harry with it. At the graduation party last time, she'd sung it. Was meant for him, but she tricked me saying it was for me. I ended up listening to it so many times. Still, she pretended nothing. She calmly taught me to sing that song. With a mic in my hand, I sang along to the beat. She was stunned. Didn't even notice when her glass fell to the ground. Finished singing and I made an excuse about needing to leave for something at home. Carrie followed me out. I was walking ahead, and she followed behind. We walked in silence all the way to the entrance of my neighborhood. Then she couldn't hold it anymore. She rushed towards me with tears in her voice. "Felix, you remember, don't you?" "Remember what? Are you going crazy again?" "Yes, I'm going crazy. You're driving me crazy." She moved closer, wanting to hug me. I pulled out a stun gun and said, "Dare to take another step." She raised her hands, anxiously explaining, "Felix, believe me, I won't hurt you again." "Hey, you think too highly of yourself. You think you can? Honestly, you really annoy me. Just thinking about you makes me sick." "Sick? Isn't what you did disgusting?" "Yeah, you're right. I won't bother you again." She turned and left. That was the last time we saw each other. Because of being reborn, I had a ton of useful info. After the college entrance exam, I invested the money I made from the World Cup in various sectors I knew about: real estate, internet, stocks. By the time I was in college, I had built a fortune I could never have imagined before. Turns out, money really does go to those who don't need it. I was never a believer in fate or destiny, but having this unique experience made me feel like this money was just passing through. I went back to my economically undeveloped hometown, started businesses, built factories, and invested $50 million into schools. I brought in more teachers, changing the place with my presence. That is the meaning of my rebirth. With foreknowledge, how could I waste it on pointless love and hate? I needed to become greater and stronger. Years later, I heard about Carrie again when I was starting a new scholarship program, expanding it to 100 spots. Some of my old classmates came back as teachers. One of them mentioned Carrie, said she'd lost it at some point, searching for some kind of eternal truth, wondering if there's life after death or rebirth. And the shocking part is, Harry was still with her, claiming he'd bring her back around. Hearing that, I just gave a faint smile. People who don't know how to love must work that out. I had my own challenges. I started a relationship with someone I admired a lot. Together, we worked on charity projects. With a second chance at life, I'm pretty satisfied with who I've become. Side story. When Carrie realized she was reborn, she was overjoyed. In the past life, I left Felix to save someone I once loved most, and Felix died in that fire. I never ended up with Harry either. Something always seemed to drive us apart. He was insecure, always needing proof of my love. Even when Felix was dead, he would ask if now he mattered more. He'd say he could die too if necessary. That felt like a bomb to me. Couldn't control myself and slapped him. He ran out. I tried calling him, messaging, no response. A month later, he had a new girlfriend. I confronted him and got hit by a car in the process. He ran to me, confessed he only wanted to know if I still liked him. That question had been a mess between us for nearly 10 years. Does he really not know? Suddenly I felt drained, needing countless acts to prove I liked him. Leaving work meetings to cook for him that proved I liked him. Driving over 100 miles to fetch him special food and returning home exhausted meant I liked him. Getting into bloody fights with others who liked him just because meant liking him. It's like I was truly worn out. Eyes closing, Felix popped into my head. He must hate me so much, just as I thought. He hated me worse than I imagined. Even tried to set me up to send me to jail. I went to him, His eyes looked so cold, like we never knew each other, filled with loathing. Couldn't take it. I wanted us back to before, realized I was the only one left standing still. It was over for us. Until that night of the song, I felt a spark of hope. He must be reborn like me, just holding a grudge about the past life. I could make it up to him. Clinging to that last hope, I followed him home, only to hear nightmare words. He said he didn't want to see me. Seeing me disgusted him. Even dreamed about me, felt gross about it. I figured out what he meant. Just a dream? Even a dream made him hate me so much? But what is real? What's fake? Thanks to past life memories, I studied an extra year and got into college. Not the same as his, but in the same city. Still, the city was too big. We never bumped into each other. I sneaked into his school a few times to look at him. He had changed, much more dazzling. Not the old Felix anymore. I didn't bother him again. With memories, I worked with what info I had and made some money. But it all felt like a dream. Waiting to wake up, maybe then Felix would be there. We'd have our cozy home. He'd push me to study, get certified. But the dream wouldn't end. I questioned if maybe the past life was the dream. Seeking answers, Harry surprisingly supported me. He changed too. No longer needs proof of my love, just wants the old me back. But can either of us go back to before?